You know, I've been thinking a lot lately about happiness. Real, genuine happiness. The kind that comes from within, not from outside circumstances or other people. And I've come to a powerful realization that I want to share with you today. True happiness. The deep, lasting kind. It comes from being at peace with yourself, from learning to be content in your own company, from letting go of the need for constant validation and approval from others. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but isn't happiness about connection, about relationships and love? And you're not wrong. Human connection is vital, but here's the thing. The strongest, healthiest connections come when two whole, complete individuals choose to share their lives. Not when two people are desperately clinging to each other to fill a void. So today we're going to talk about learning to be happy alone, about finding that inner wellspring of joy and contentment that no one can take away from you. Because when you master this, you'll find that everything else in life becomes richer, more vibrant, more meaningful. Let's start with a hard truth. Many of us are afraid of being alone. We fill every moment with noise, with distractions, with the voices of others. We jump from relationship to relationship, terrified of that quiet moment when we have to face ourselves. But what if I told you that in that quiet, in that solitude, lies the key to unlocking your full potential? What if the very thing you've been running from is actually the source of your greatest strength? You see, when you learn to be happy alone, you're no longer at the mercy of others' opinions or actions. You're no longer living your life on someone else's terms. You become the author of your own story, the captain of your own ship. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. Far from it. Learning to be content in your own company, to find joy in solitude. It's one of the greatest challenges we face as human beings, but it's also one of the most rewarding journeys you'll ever undertake. So how do we begin this journey? How do we learn to let go and find happiness within ourselves? First, we need to understand what's holding us back. For many of us, it's fear. Fear of loneliness, fear of missing out, fear of not being good enough on our own. We've been conditioned to believe that our worth is tied to our relationships, our social status, our ability to attract and keep others in our lives. But I'm here to tell you, that's a lie. Your worth isn't determined by anyone else. It's intrinsic. It's part of who you are simply because you exist. Think about it this way. When you were born, did you need anyone's permission to be worthy of love? Of course not. You were valuable. You were precious simply because you were. And guess what? That hasn't changed. You're still that same inherently valuable being. You've just forgotten it along the way. So our first step is to reconnect with that truth, to remember our intrinsic worth. And this starts with self-awareness. Take some time each day to really check in with yourself. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? What do you truly want? Like, not what others expect of you, not what society tells you you should want, but what you deep down in your core truly desire. This might feel uncomfortable at first. Many of us aren't used to this level of self-reflection. We're so busy trying to meet everyone else's expectations that we've lost touch with our own inner voice. But stick with it, because in that discomfort lies growth. As you practice this self-awareness, you'll start to notice something interesting. You'll begin to see patterns in your thoughts and behaviors. You might realize that you've been making decisions based on fear rather than love, or that you've been seeking validation from others instead of trusting your own judgment. This awareness is powerful because once you see these patterns, you can start to change them. You can start to make choices that align with your true self rather than choices that are simply reactions to external pressures. Now, as you're doing this inner work, it's important to also focus on self-care. And I'm not just talking about bubble baths and face masks, though those can be nice. I'm talking about really taking care of yourself on all levels. Physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Physically, this means treating your body with respect, eating nourishing foods, getting regular exercise, giving yourself enough rest. Your body is the vehicle through which you experience life. Treat it well. Mentally challenge yourself. Read books that expand your mind. Learn new skills. Engage in stimulating conversations. Keep that beautiful brain of yours active and growing. Emotionally, allow yourself to feel. Don't push down your emotions or try to numb them. Feel them fully, understand them, and then let them go. Emotional intelligence is a key part of being happy alone. And spiritually, now, this doesn't necessarily mean religion, though it can if that's your path. Spirituality is about connecting with something larger than yourself. It could be nature, art, music, or simply a sense of purpose. Find what speaks to your soul and make time for it regularly. As you focus on these areas of self-care, you'll start to notice a shift. You'll begin to enjoy your own company more. You'll find yourself looking forward to those quiet moments alone rather than dreading them. But here's where many people get stuck. They start this journey of self-discovery and self-care, and things are going well. They're feeling more confident, more at peace. And then life happens. A setback occurs. A relationship ends. A job is lost. And suddenly all that progress seems to vanish. This is where the real work begins. This is where you have to dig deep and remember why you started this journey in the first place. You see, happiness isn't a destination. It's not something you achieve and then you're done. It's a practice. It's a choice you make every single day, sometimes every single moment. When life throws you a curveball, and it will, that's just part of the human experience. You have a choice. You can fall back into old patterns, seeking external validation and numbing your pain. Or you can use it as an opportunity to grow even stronger in your self-reliance and inner peace. Let me tell you a story. Years ago, I met a woman who had gone through an incredibly difficult divorce. She had been with her husband for over 20 years and suddenly found herself alone for the first time in her adult life. At first, she was devastated. She didn't know who she was without her partner. She felt lost, afraid, and incredibly lonely. But instead of immediately jumping into another relationship or numbing her pain with distractions, she made a brave choice. She decided to use this time to really get to know herself. She started small. Each day, she would do one thing just for herself. Sometimes it was as simple as taking a walk in nature. Other times, it was trying a new hobby she'd always been curious about. She started journaling, pouring out her thoughts and feelings onto paper. It wasn't easy. There were days when the loneliness felt overwhelming, days when she questioned everything, but she kept going. She kept choosing herself day after day. And you know what happened? Slowly but surely, she started to change. She discovered passions she never knew she had. She developed a strength and resilience she didn't know was possible. She learned to enjoy her own company, to find joy in solitude. By the time I met her, years after her divorce, she was one of the most content, self-assured people I had ever encountered. She had built a life she loved, full of rich experiences and deep, meaningful connections, including a new romantic relationship that was healthier and more fulfilling than she had ever thought possible. But here's the key. Her happiness didn't come from that new relationship. It came from the work she had done on herself. She had learned to be happy alone, and that allowed her to enter into a relationship from a place of wholeness, not neediness. This is the power of learning to be happy alone. It doesn't mean you'll always be alone. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy relationships or connections with others. It simply means that your happiness, your sense of self-worth, isn't dependent on anyone else. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, but what about loneliness? Isn't it natural to feel lonely sometimes? And you're absolutely right. Loneliness is a very real, very human emotion. We're social creatures by nature, and it's normal to crave connection. But here's the thing. There's a big difference between being alone and being lonely. You can be surrounded by people and feel intensely lonely. And conversely, you can be by yourself and feel completely content. Loneliness often comes from a disconnection from ourselves. When we're not in tune with our own thoughts, feelings, and needs, we look to others to fill that void. But no one else can truly fill that void for us. That's an inside job. So how do we deal with loneliness when it arises? First, acknowledge it. Don't try to push it away or pretend it's not there. Feel it fully, and then get curious about it. What's underneath that feeling of loneliness? Is it a need for connection, for understanding, for love? Once you identify what's really going on, you can take steps to address it in a healthy way. Maybe you need to reach out to a friend for a deep conversation. Maybe you need to practice self-compassion and give yourself the understanding and love you're craving. Or maybe you need to take action towards a goal that's important to you, to remind yourself of your own capability and worth. Remember, feeling lonely doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It doesn't mean you failed at being happy alone. It's simply a sign that you're human, with very human needs and emotions. The goal isn't to never feel lonely. The goal is to develop the tools to handle loneliness when it arises, without letting it drive you into unhealthy behaviors or relationships. Now let's talk about another challenge that often comes up when we're learning to be happy alone: the opinion of others. We live in a society that often equates being alone with being lonely, or even worse, with being a failure. There's an expectation that by a certain age, we should be in a relationship, should have a certain kind of social life, should be living our lives a certain way. And when we choose a different path, when we choose to focus on our relationship with ourselves, we might face judgment or misunderstanding from others. Maybe your family keeps asking when you're going to settle down. Maybe your friends don't understand why you're turning down invitations to go out. Maybe you feel pressure to be in a relationship just because everyone else seems to be. Here's what I want you to remember. Your journey is your own. Your path to happiness is unique to you. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for the choices you make in pursuit of your own well-being. That doesn't mean you have to cut people out of your life or become a hermit. It simply means setting healthy boundaries and staying true to yourself, even when it's difficult. When someone questions your choices or expresses concern, you can respond with kindness and confidence. I appreciate your concern, but I'm on a journey of self-discovery right now. This is what feels right for me at this moment. Remember, most people's opinions come from a place of caring, even if it doesn't always feel that way. They want you to be happy. They just might have a different idea of what that looks like. Your job isn't to convince them. Your job is to stay true to your own path. As you continue on this journey of learning to be happy alone, you'll likely notice some profound changes in your life. First, your relationships will change. And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. All your connections will shift as you become more secure in yourself. You'll find that you're no longer willing to tolerate relationships that drain you or bring you down. You'll naturally start to gravitate towards people who uplift you, who respect your boundaries, who appreciate you for who you truly are. You might find that some friendships naturally fall away while others deepen. This can be painful at times, but remember, it's all part of the growth process. You're creating space in your life for connections that truly serve you. You'll also likely find that you become more authentic in your interactions with others. When you're not constantly seeking approval or validation, you're free to be your true self. And paradoxically, this often leads to deeper, more meaningful connections. Another area where you'll see changes is in your decision-making. When you're comfortable being alone, when your happiness doesn't depend on others, you're able to make choices from a place of clarity and self-awareness. You won't stay in a job you hate just because you're afraid of being alone in a new environment. You won't say yes to commitments that don't align with your values just to please others. You'll make choices based on what truly feels right for you. This doesn't mean you'll become selfish or inconsiderate of others. In fact, quite the opposite. When you're secure in yourself, you're better able to consider others' needs without losing sight of your own. You'll find a balance between self-care and caring for others that feels authentic. And so you might also notice changes in how you spend your time. When you're no longer filling every moment with distractions or other people, you have the opportunity to explore what truly interests you. Maybe you'll rediscover old hobbies or passions. Maybe you'll find new ones. Maybe you'll finally write that book you've been thinking about for years, or learn that instrument you've always wanted to play. You might find joy in simple pleasures. A quiet morning with a cup of coffee, a solo hike in nature, losing yourself in a good book. These moments of solitude become opportunities for rejuvenation and self-discovery rather than sources of anxiety or loneliness. Now, I want to address something important. Learning to be happy alone doesn't mean you'll never want or need companionship. We are, after all, social creatures. The goal isn't to become an island, completely self-sufficient and disconnected from others. The goal is to reach a place where your happiness and sense of self aren't dependent on others, where you can enjoy connections and relationships, but you don't need them to feel complete or worthy. When you reach this place, you'll find that your connections with others actually become richer and more fulfilling because you're coming from a place of wholeness, not neediness. You're choosing to share your life with others, not desperately seeking someone to complete you. This is true freedom. The freedom to be yourself, to live life on your own terms, to create connections that add to your life rather than define it. Now, and I know this journey isn't easy. Learning to be happy alone, to let go of our need for constant external validation, it's one of the most challenging things we can do. But I promise you, it's also one of the most rewarding. There will be setbacks along the way, days when loneliness feels overwhelming, moments when you question everything. But don't let these setbacks discourage you. They're not signs of failure. They're opportunities for growth. Each time you face a challenge and choose to stay true to yourself, you grow stronger. Each time you resist the urge to seek happiness outside yourself and instead turn inward, you build resilience. Remember, this is a journey, not a destination. There's no finish line where you suddenly become perfectly content being alone. It's an ongoing practice, a daily choice to honor yourself in your own path. So be patient with yourself. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small it might seem. Did you enjoy a meal alone without feeling the need to distract yourself with your phone? That's progress. Did you say no to a social invitation because you genuinely wanted some time to yourself? That's progress too. As you continue on this journey, I want you to remember something crucial. You are worthy of love and happiness, exactly as you are right now. Not when you achieve a certain goal, not when you find the perfect relationship, not when you finally become who you think you should be. Right now, in this moment, you don't need to change yourself to be worthy of love and happiness. You don't need anyone else's approval or validation. You are enough just as you are. Learning to be happy alone isn't about becoming a different person. It's about peeling away the layers of societal expectations, past hurts, and limiting beliefs to reveal the beautiful, worthy person you've always been underneath. It's about reconnecting with your true self, learning to trust your own judgment, and finding the courage to live life on your own terms. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you truly learn to be happy alone, you'll find that you're never really alone at all, because you'll always have yourself, your strongest ally, your most loyal friend, your greatest source of love and support. So I challenge you today. Take the first step on this journey. It might be as simple as spending 10 minutes in quiet reflection, or taking yourself out for a solo dinner, or saying no to a commitment that doesn't align with your value. Whatever that first step is for you, take it. And then take another and another. Keep moving forward, even when it's difficult, even when you face setbacks or doubts. Remember, every step you take towards learning to be happy alone is a step towards true freedom and fulfillment. It's a step towards becoming the best version of yourself. It's a step towards creating a life that truly fulfills you, not just one that looks good on the surface. Now, I want to share with you some practical strategies for cultivating happiness within yourself. Because while understanding the concept is important, it's the daily actions that truly make the difference. First and foremost, develop a practice of self-reflection. Set aside time each day to check in with yourself. This could be through meditation, journaling, or simply sitting quietly and observing your thoughts. The goal is to become more aware of your inner world, your thoughts, feelings, desires, and fears. As you do this, you'll start to notice patterns. You might realize that certain thoughts or situations consistently bring you down. Or you might discover activities or ideas that consistently lift you up. This self-knowledge is powerful. It allows you to make conscious choices about where you focus your energy and attention. Next, cultivate gratitude. Now, I know you probably heard this before. Gratitude has become quite the buzzword, but there's a reason for that. It works. When you focus on what you're grateful for, you naturally shift your attention away from what you lack. Start a gratitude journal. Each day, write down 3 things you're thankful for. They don't have to be big things. Maybe you're grateful for the warm sun on your face, or for the delicious cup of coffee you had this morning, or for the strength in your body that allows you to move through your day. As you practice this, you'll start to notice more and more things to be grateful for. Your brain will begin to automatically look for the positive in situations. And this, my friends, is a game changer when it comes to happiness. Another crucial aspect of learning to be happy alone is developing your interests and passions. What lights you up? What makes you lose track of time? If you're not sure, that's okay. Part of this journey is discovering those things. Try new activities. Take a class in something you've always been curious about. Read books on a variety of subjects. Watch documentaries. Travel to new places, even if it's just to a nearby town you've never explored before. As you do this, pay attention to what resonates with you. What makes you feel excited? What do you find yourself wanting to learn more about? These are clues to your passions. And when you pursue your passions, you'll find a deep sense of fulfillment that doesn't depend on anyone else. Now let's talk about something that many people struggle with when learning to be happy alone. Negative self-talk. You know what I'm talking about. That little voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, that you'll never be happy, that you need someone else to complete you. This negative self-talk can be a major roadblock on your journey to inner happiness, but here's the good news. You have the power to change it. Start by becoming aware of your self-talk. When you notice negative thoughts creeping in, pause. Take a deep breath, then challenge those thoughts. Are they really true? Or are they just old beliefs that no longer serve you? Once you've challenged the thought, replace it with a more positive, realistic one. For example, if you catch yourself thinking, "I'll never be happy alone," replace it with, "I'm learning to find happiness within myself, and I'm making progress every day." This isn't about forcing yourself to be positive all the time. It's about being fair and kind to yourself. It's about treating yourself with the same compassion and understanding you would offer a good friend. Speaking of friends, let's address the role of relationships in your journey to being happy alone. Now, this might seem contradictory. After all, aren't we talking about being happy by yourself? But the truth is, healthy relationships can actually support your journey to inner happiness. The key word here is healthy. As you learn to be happy alone, you'll naturally start to gravitate towards relationships that support your growth and respect your independence. You'll be less likely to tolerate relationships that drain you or make you feel less than. Better cultivate friendships with people who understand and support your journey. Seek out mentors who can guide you. Join groups or communities of like-minded individuals who are also on a path of self-discovery. These relationships can provide support, inspiration, and different perspectives. They can challenge you to grow and evolve. But remember, they're not the source of your happiness. They're companions on your journey, not the destination. Now, I want to address something that often comes up when we talk about being happy alone, the fear of missing out. In today's world, we're constantly bombarded with images of other people's lives. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking everyone else is having more fun, is more successful, or is happier than we are. But here's the truth. What you see on the surface is rarely the whole story. That person who seems to have the perfect relationship, they have their struggles too. That friend who's always out at parties, they might be using those social events to avoid facing themselves. Don't compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Your journey is unique. Your path to happiness is your own. Trust in that path, even when it looks different from others. Another important aspect of learning to be happy alone is taking care of your physical health. Your mind and body are intimately connected. When you neglect your physical health, it becomes much harder to find that inner peace and happiness. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Eat nourishing foods that make you feel good. Move your body in ways that you enjoy. This doesn't mean you have to become a fitness fanatic or follow some strict diet. It's about listening to your body and giving it what it needs to function at its best. Exercise, in particular, can be a powerful tool in your journey to inner happiness. Not only does it release endorphins, those feel-good chemicals in your brain, but it also gives you a sense of accomplishment. It reminds you of your own strength and capability. Now, as we near the end of our time together, I want to circle back to something I mentioned earlier. The idea that happiness is a practice, not a destination. This is crucial to understand as you embark on this journey. There will be days when you feel on top of the world, completely at peace with yourself and your solitude. And there will be days when loneliness creeps in, when you doubt yourself, when you wonder if you're on the right path. Both of these experiences are normal. Both are part of the journey. The key is to not get too attached to either state. Don't beat yourself up when you're struggling, and don't become complacent when things are going well. Instead, approach each day with curiosity and openness. What can you learn about yourself today? How can you nurture your own happiness in this moment? Remember, every experience, good or bad, is an opportunity for growth. Every challenge is a chance to reinforce your inner strength. Every moment of joy is a reminder of your capacity for happiness. As you continue on this path, you'll likely notice that your definition of happiness starts to shift. It becomes less about fleeting moments of pleasure or external achievements, and more about a deep, abiding sense of peace and contentment. You'll find joy in the simple things, a beautiful sunset, a good book, the satisfaction of learning a new skill. You'll become more resilient in the face of life's challenges. You'll trust yourself more, fear less, and love more deeply, starting with loving yourself. And here's the beautiful thing. As you learn to be truly happy alone, you'll likely find that your life becomes richer in connections. Because when you're no longer seeking others to fill a void in yourself, you're free to connect from a place of wholeness, and you'll attract people and opportunities that align with your true self. You'll build relationships based on mutual growth and respect, not need or fear. You'll contribute to the world from a place of fullness, not lack. So, my friends, I encourage you, no, I challenge you to embrace this journey, to have the courage to look within yourself and face what you find there, to let go of the need for constant external validation and learn to be your own source of happiness and fulfillment. It won't always be easy. There will be times when you want to give up, when the old patterns of seeking happiness outside yourself seem easier. But I promise you, the rewards of this journey are worth every challenge you'll face. Because when you learn to be happy alone, you're not just changing your own life, you're changing the world around you. You're showing others what's possible. You're breaking free from societal expectations and paving the way for a new understanding of happiness and fulfillment. Imagine a world where more people were truly content within themselves, where relationships were formed out of joy and choice, not need or fear, where each individual felt empowered to pursue their own path to happiness. That's the world you're helping to create by embarking on this journey. So take that first step, and then another, and another. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate your progress. Learn from your setbacks, and always, always remember you are worthy of happiness, just as you are right now. You have everything you need within you to create a life of joy, purpose, and fulfillment. Trust in that. Believe in yourself, and watch as your world transform. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of happiness and self-discovery. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Your journey to being happy alone starts now, in this very moment. Embrace it, my friends. The best is yet to come.